Welcome, friends, to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from that police detective's perspective, go on and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon. And where is he? He switched on me. This guy, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Hey, tonight we're going to talk about Danelo Cavalcante. Manhunt goes into day 13. Now, Ed and I took the day off yesterday. We didn't cover day 12. So today we're going to cover day 12, the chain of events, and day 13 as they unfolded. There was a lot of moving parts in this case. But before we get into it, Ed and I would like to thank you, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, the folks who buy us cups of coffee, the replay viewers, the moderators, and everybody who leaves positive comments down below in the comment section. Because guess what? Without you, we don't got anything. Isn't that right, Ed?
Right. I think you left out a few people. I would like to thank the Pope, His Eminence, the Dalai Lama.
Thank you. Thank you.
The President of the United States.
I'll let Ed sidetrack the show. Good to see everybody. Thank you for joining. But again, this is a dangerous convict on the loose, day 13, running around in Pennsylvania. There's a lot of residents. There's a lot of people, business owners, and so forth that are up in arms because they're living in fear. Isn't that right, Ed?
Indeed. Yeah. Now more so than ever, because now he's got a gun.
Right. So he's got a 22 caliber rifle with a scope and also a flashlight attached to it. So a hunting style rifle that can shoot from quite a distance. And now it becomes a really dangerous game because here we are. It's confirmed. Ed, you could say this. Law enforcement, they've treated him as armed and dangerous from the get-go. And I talked about, armed could be a knife, could be a screwdriver, it could be a hammer, could be a gun. Now we know it's a gun.
Well, we know in this incident, but he could have picked up a gun anywhere along the way when he broke into all these houses. But he did take a knife. We knew that for sure. And it's confirmed now that he took a 22 long rifle.
Can you tell the audience a little bit about the capabilities of 22 long rifle? We know that from the homeowner, he said he's got a 10-round magazine, so he's got 10 shots at least. But could you tell him a little bit about that rifle?
Yeah, well, there's so many different 22 caliber rifles, but the most popular one that I'm aware of is the Ruger 1022. Now, the Ruger 1022 comes in all different variations. There's the fixed stock, there's a pistol grip stock, there's tactical versions, there's a breakdown version for backpack. Okay, so here you go. Here you got a polymer stock, black plastic, if you will, and it's got fixed with a scope. The magazine goes, a little box magazine goes right in the front of the trigger there, and you can see the release mechanism in front of it. Pops up in there. You pull the bolt back, which is right there on the right side, and it loads a live cartridge, which is a 22 caliber long rifle in there. And now 22 caliber, it's a very tiny round, okay, but it doesn't mean that it can't do much damage. It can do some damage, especially close up. And with this rifle, it can reach out and hurt you. So it can get out there. Like in size, in terms of the caliber, there's not much difference between a 22 and a 223 or a 5.56 of 5.56 millimeter. This is the breakdown survival rifle, 1022. Now, if he has this, he can hide this in a backpack. Whereas the other one is a fixed rifle. He's got to sling that, and that's going to be exposed unless he's got some kind of long coat that he can hide it underneath.
And people in the chat are saying that the homeowner is saying, and I didn't see this confirmed anywhere, but I believe, our chat, that it was a short rifle. So I guess maybe a shorter barreled rifle. Is that possible?
Well, I mean, go back to the fixed stock rifle. Yeah, that's about as short as you get for 22s.
Unless you
it doesn't come much shorter than that. Okay. But that's a fixed stock, so you can't break the barrel down like you can with the survival rifle that you saw before, with the red background.
But this is pretty standard for a 22 rifle. I've seen many of these growing up, and like you said, they're teeny little bullets. And like you said, this is about as short as a barrel as it comes.
I mean, there's 1020, there's 22 caliber Stingers, there's 22 caliber Magnums, there's 22 calibers that come in round nose lead, copper jacketed. There's
Right.
22 points.
Right.
So we don't know exactly what ammo he's got, but
Right.
now this rifle doesn't have any attachment features other than the scope mount. But if he's got a flashlight attachment, that means then he put an accessory mount on it somewhere by the barrel to attach a flashlight. So
Yeah,
maybe
'cause it couldn't go here because of the magazine attachment. It would have to be forward of the magazine or over here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they usually make an adapter that goes on the barrel to attach a flashlight to that he can remotely turn on and off. Now he must be doing some night vermin shooting or something like that with the 22.
Right, right. We also heard in the press conferences, there was two of them. There was one in the morning, one in the afternoon today, that they upped the reward to $25,000. To me, that says that, look, they're looking to wrap this up. They want to get this guy obviously into custody. 13 days is a long time. It is an expansive area to cover. I mean, this coverage area is ridiculous. I started looking at it from an overhead shot, and I'm gonna give you guys just a good look at this this overhead shot. It's just it's a tremendous amount of coverage. I mean, and some of the helicopter footage that was posted today really gave you a bird's eye view. And if you pay close attention to this, I mean, you see the cars at different intervals, and they're holding down that 8 or 9 square mile area, but it is just a combination of flat land and hilly land and very seasoned, you talked about the canopy at it. You can't see past these bushes and trees that are grown. These are very well matured, grown trees here, and it's once someone goes in there, it's pretty tough to track them in there.
That place looks like a nicely manicured golf course.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Like, I just want to go back a little bit. Okay, this is some road closures. You see, I mean, these officers are out there with long rifles. These are
ARs, M4s, yeah.
Yeah. So this is Pottstown Pike, and I think 100. But yeah, I mean, it did look like a golf course, but I didn't see anything that would be indicative of a golf course. I didn't see any.
No, I'm just saying it looked like a well manicured.
Yeah.
in the middle of the forest there.
Yeah. So there's someone's home there, nestled away. So he took this rifle. The homeowner, Ed, had a sidearm. We don't know what caliber, if it was a 9mm or 40 cal. It doesn't matter. He withdrew his handgun and fired 7 rounds at this guy. I wish he would have hit him, but apparently they said he didn't. There was probably, can you talk about how they would be able to determine if he was hit? Because I know a lot of perps, a lot of scenes that I was involved with over the course of time in Brownsville and East New York, there would be a lot of times blood trails, but then sometimes people would get shot, and there would be no blood. You wouldn't see any blood drippings. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, sometimes the clothing will absorb a lot of the blood, depending on the size and of the wound, and where the wound is, how many layers of clothes, and the intermediary targets, and so forth. Right. And sometimes over time, the blood will saturate the clothes, and then it'll start to drip where you find something. Now, trying to find a blood trail on manicured grass like that is very difficult. I mean, we do have some tools hunters use to track deer blood and so forth after you shot a deer and it's taken off and it's died elsewhere. There are some visual aids that we could use to do that and locate the blood. And it takes a tracker. You have to have a good tracking abilities and be able to understand sign. Broken twigs, broken bushes, and movements through this type of heavily wooded area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can see there's officers on foot. We saw officers on horseback. And we also saw the canines out again today. So there's a ton of work. They're talking about over 500 officers now on the ground in this area, in this expansive area. It's now, I think they're talking 8 to 9 square miles of a perimeter that they're trying to cover. And 8 p.m. So 8 p.m. last night, a female motorist, she witnessed a male crouching along the wood line on the south side of Fairview, I think Fairview River and Route 100. And she doubled back and turned around and he was gone. But she had the wherewithal to call 911, and that's what got the ball rolling last night. And people, by a show of hands in here in the chat, I was getting messages at 1, 2, 3, 5 o'clock in the morning. How many people in the chat were watching this thing all night last night? There was a wild goose chase going on, and I thought for sure when I went to bed at 11 o'clock last night or 10:30 that this guy was going to get caught, because it was a lot of activity last night. So let's see, a lot of people in the chat. Yes. Yeah. Yep. A lot of number ones in the chat. So people were watching all over the place. It was just, it was an incredible amount of activity last night. I know, Ed, you were in bed because you were with your parents and you probably wrapped it up a little bit early, but then again, you stay up late sometimes, and you surprised me. So did you catch any of this?
No, I did not, but I wasn't up late. So, I think I hit the bed around 10 o'clock.
Okay, yeah. So this thing was going on all night. People were sending me messages left and right. Let's just play a little bit. This is from late today, so let's take a listen on this.
To bring you the latest on the search for that escaped prisoner, Danelo Cavalcante. Authorities say he's now armed, and he was spotted last night in an area in northern Chester County.
Woodline.
For the latest, let's go over to Pennsylvania State Police in Kennett Square.
West of Route 100. The motorist turned her vehicle around in an effort to verify what she saw. As she drove back past, the individual was gone. We had a large number of troopers already in the area and utilized them to form a perimeter around that area. A Border Patrol tactical team was also in the immediate vicinity and went directly to the location of the sighting. They observed footprints in some mud, which were identical to the prison shoes worn by Cavalcante. A track was initiated, and shortly thereafter, both of his prison shoes were located. Information was received from another resident in that immediate area that a pair of work boots had been stolen from a porch at her residence. The tracking of Cavalcante continued in a northerly direction, and at 10:10 p.m., a call was received from a resident on Coventryville Road indicating a short Hispanic male, no shirt, and wearing dark pants, had entered his garage while the homeowner was in it, and that he grabbed a .22 rifle that was leaning in the corner of the garage. The homeowner drew a pistol and fired at Cavalcante as he fled with the rifle. PSP responded and secured that scene. At that time, a green sweatshirt and white t-shirt believed to belong to Cavalcante were discovered near the edge of the driveway. The perimeter was expanded to include that area. Overnight, searches of the area within the perimeter were conducted by tactical teams from multiple agencies. Teams from Pennsylvania State Police, Border Patrol, ATF, FBI, U.S. Marshals, and Chester County have been active through the night. Teams are currently being rotated out and replaced with fresh teams. Aviation assets, canines, mounted patrols, and numerous other assets have been mobilized and are currently operating in this search area. Upwards of 500 law enforcement officers are engaged in securing the perimeter and in conducting the searches. We are mobilizing additional resources as we speak and are planning for an extended operating period if necessary. Cavalcante is considered armed and extremely dangerous. He is now armed with a .22 caliber rifle with a scope and flashlight mounted on it. Throughout the night, we sent several reverse 911 messages to residents within a 3-mile radius of this incident, as well as posted information to social media in an effort to inform the public and to keep them safe. We also notified the affected schools of this incident in the very early morning hours, and a decision was made to close schools in the O&J Roberts School District for today. The current perimeter includes PA 23 to the north, PA 100 to the east, Fairview and Nant Mill roads to the south, and Iron Bridge and County Park roads to the west. We ask residents in and around this vicinity to please secure homes outbuildings, and vehicles. It is imperative that anyone with information about Cavalcante contact us immediately so we can act on it in a timely manner.
So there you have it, Ed. Quite a bit of information. A lot of things happen overnight. A lot of moving parts. Leaving his clothing behind, leaving the prison sneakers, the prison shoes that we saw. I believe they were Nikes, white Nikes. They probably were beat up, and he grabbed that guy's boots. The main thing here is that he's now armed. He's now confirmed that he's got a weapon. And, I have some great guests that are going to come in, because I put in the chat before we went live that we're going to get a local couple's perspective. And this couple who's local happens to be my niece and her husband. And everybody that's channel members and everybody that's been on this channel knows Julia, but they didn't get to meet her husband, Derek. We're going to introduce them in a few minutes, but we also have the Tieperman family, who were instrumental in providing video footage of escapee Gonzalo Lopez last year. Gonzalo Lopez got out of that prison bus, and Ed and I, we covered this thing extensively. The first thing Dr. Tieperman said to me was, Ron, this was early on over this weekend, he's going to get a gun. He's going to wind up getting a car. He did both. So, and that's through experience. I wanted to just play the 911 message that was sent out to the residents. I believe I have it here, and it's a short little piece. So let me play this. This is from News Nation.
Well, breaking news
we'll
out of Pennsylvania now, where escaped convicted killer Danelo Cavalcante was spotted overnight. We are now just getting a listen on the emergency notification from Chester County 911 about Cavalcante. Here's a listen.
This is a message from the Pennsylvania State Police. The Pennsylvania State Police are still pursuing escaped convict Danelo Cavalcante in the area of Ridge Road, Coventryville Road, Daisy Point Road in South Coventry Township. Cavalcante is armed with a weapon. Residents in the area are asked to continue to lock all external doors and windows, secure vehicles, and remain indoors. Please review your surveillance cameras and contact police if you observe anything suspicious. If you see this individual, do not approach him. Call 911 immediately. Please call 717-562-2987 with general tips and information.
And authorities say.
Ed, I want you to explain to the audience what a reverse 911, because there's some people that are outside the country that are watching us, and some people don't even know what that message is, how that thing got sent out. Okay, so in the United States, 911 is our emergency call number. Now, in Europe, in other parts of the world, it's a different set of numbers that you use, but it's similar. And so in these communities, where the infected communities, the law enforcement has the ability to reverse call all the residents in this particular community and play just such a message in the case of emergency. So it's called reverse 911. And it's, if you look at your telephone bill, there's a tax for it. There you go. We all pay for it. Thanks for that explanation, Ed, because I know that there has to be some people in the chat that were unaware of what that is. Let's get to the Tiepermans real quick, and then we're going to bring on Derek and Julia. Derek and Julia, my niece and her husband, they live in the initial first perimeter area, the first search area. They were, that Longwood Gardens is just a hop, skip, and a jump from them. But Derek went to high school in the schools that were closed, the school that was closed down today. And he grew up, I believe, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, he grew up in this community. So he knows firsthand what the lay of the land is and what the folks are going through. But first, I want to bring on Robert and Melanie Tieperman. These are people who we love and respect. What they did with Gonzalo Lopez was nothing short of hero-like, and their son Braxton was on the phone taking the video. Remember that? They got a video of Gonzalo Lopez running through the field. So Melanie and Robert, great to see you. How are you guys?
Hey guys,
Hi.
we're good.
Hi, Ed.
Great to see y'all.
Yeah. How's Brax doing? Good?
He's good. He'd probably be in here if we knew we were on here.
Oh, he's going to be mad tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, you tell him that he's our hero and we love him. So just like we love you guys. And happy anniversary. That was great that we got to connect over the weekend. So, hey, I wanted to get your thoughts. We have 1,300 or so, 1,200 something people watching this live stream. You know, when Gonzalo Lopez went on the run in Leon County, it lasted quite a long time, 11 plus days, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Melanie, you were in the car. You had your sidearm on you, as any good Texan would, and you saw the events unfold. And Braxton, you told him to take that video. Right. This is now fast forward here on the East Coast. This is close to my home, over here in Pennsylvania. What was your guys' thoughts when you first saw this?
It was like deja vu again. I literally was like, oh my God, this sounds, it's exactly, except for the bus wreck, exactly kind of what we had here. And I immediately myself went back through a kind of in my mind, what's going on over there, what's happening, and what the people are going through over there with that. I thought that they'd catch him pretty quick, like the other. Well, there's been a lot of prison escapes, you've seen in the last year. And I thought they would have caught him by now by the way he escaped. I'm surprised, but
it brought back a lot of heavy emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable.
I thought right away of you, Melanie, because of how emotional this was. The Collins family, 5 beautiful people murdered at the hands of Gonzalo Lopez. And, here we are, fast forward to 2023. And I don't even think we have real answers from the TDCJ. And as I suspected, they all just, time goes by and they just push it to the side. So we'll save that for another show because I want to come back and revisit that. But Robert, Dr. Tieberman, you said to me over the weekend, I believe it was Saturday night, you had said to me, he's going to get a car. And he didn't have a car at that point. Sunday night is when he grabbed it from that dairy farm. What was, what were you thinking? What was your thought process when you said that to me?
What we learned about the situation is, and you guys may know real well, but that these guys will last so long out hiding out before they need food, water, or they start getting desperate and start kind of suffering for some of that stuff. And so I figured probably 3 to 5 days hiding out, and then he would be desperately looking and taking chances at that to get a car, get a gun, and get food. And I figured that'd be his next step. And with that, I figured, I don't know the area real good out there. I don't know if it's as thick as it is where we're at. It looks like it's kind of rural out there. But I knew that would be happening. And I thought when it did, and thankfully it did not, that he didn't shoot or kill anyone to get this stuff. So it's almost like he's trying, you guys may know this better than I do, but it's almost like right now he's desperate, but not to the severity of desperateness to kill, because he may not want someone to catch on to him where he's at and track him down. So he's still trying to be desperately sneaky. I don't know what you would call that.
Yeah. See, the thing of it is with with this heinous criminal, he, committed a murder in Brazil, and then he wound up evading authorities in the jungle there, and he came here illegally, and his girlfriend suggested he turn himself in. He stabbed her 38 times and killed her. So there's nothing that would indicate that he's going to go peacefully, and that's why you see 500 heavily armed state, federal, and U.S. Marshals and so forth going after this guy, because they know he's not going to go and just say, all right, you got me. Look at what happened with Gonzalo Lopez. He had an AR-15 that he, I believe, stole from the Collins family and went on the run and had a blazing shootout with the deputies and sheriffs down in Texas, right?
A mile from the headquarters.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. One thing I did notice difference in you guys may enlighten, is in the Gonzalo Lopez case, the prison was in charge of it, and they had prison guards around. And I see a difference with this. It seems like maybe the state police and they're in charge of it, and they've taken that away from the prison. Possibly, I don't know if that. And it seems like they would have caught him by now, but there's looks like there's different people in charge, and they're getting good reports so far with that.
Yeah, it's different in different regions, Ed. I know you could talk maybe about this too. The TDCJ, you know, they took the lead on the Gonzalo Lopez prison bus escape. Here in Pennsylvania, the state police took the lead, and I think that's their protocol. And every state's different, you know. So, and Ed, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's what it appears to be right now, that the state police took control of the scene. And now they've created a task force between the state and federal government.
Right.
So you have ICE helping them. You have the U.S. Marshals Service helping them. So you have this kind of task force going on right now.
Yeah, it's frustrating to a lot of people because here, look, the Tiepermans are in Texas. There's people watching from all over the country and all over the world, for that matter. And everyone's saying, you know, the common thread is that the state police are dropping the ball. But the fact of the matter is the reason why Danelo Cavalcante is out is because the prison, who is in charge of him, right? They had his care and custody, Chester County Prison. And it was, the onus was on them to keep him behind bars, a convicted two-time murderer, convicted only once, obviously here in the US, but a convicted murderer, someone who didn't just shoot somebody and walk away or choke somebody out. And I'm not trying to minimize it, but he committed a violent act. He stabbed this girl 38 times in front of her children. So you would think that they would have eyes on this piece of crap. But unfortunately, the reason this guy's running free is not because of the Pennsylvania State Police. So everyone's taking their anger out on the Pennsylvania State Police. They're taxed with mopping up the mess.
And he's not the first person to escape from the prison in the same exact manner.
2 times from May till now. You're right, Ed. Bingo, Yahtzee. You know?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I know it's different state agencies. Thought was, can they not learn from these things? I mean, how are they not learning information on how to prevent this from happening over and over again?
But Melanie, you know firsthand how traumatizing this is. You had told me on private conversations that, Ron, I'm not afraid, but I'm in the pool with my kids. This guy could be sitting in the woods or in the brush watching us. And he went from home to home. And what did they tell you guys? They told you all, it's okay. You can go back to your homes now. Colin's family went back to their home and boom.
Well, they just left us all together with him still out here. You know, they had, you know, the perimeter set up with guards and search units and all that. And then all of a sudden, it's like after so many, I don't know, maybe a week. Was it a week, Robert?
11 days. It was 11.
Decided, okay, we're going to move it somewhere else and do this a different way, and just kind of up and left us by ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
and what I liked, what I just saw is that they did the 911, the reverse thing, and we have that in Texas. And when they saw him after 3 weeks, and they saw him in that where they seen him on the cameras, and then in the cabin, they knew it was him that broke in, but they kept it hush for that 4 or 5 days. That would have been a key right there, 911 emergency reverse, to go out where everybody would get it. We think he may be here. We're sending evidence off to get it, DNA off to see. And if we got that one little thing, the Collins would be alive. I know that. And I think that's, you know, for the local people who are watching this, you know, they get discouraged after so much time goes by. Like, hey, are they telling us the truth? Are they being honest with us? Do they know what's going on? But I just want to reiterate to them, it's nice that they're getting information saying, stay in your house, you know, stay there. Although you may not like to hear this, but I did hear the guy say, call us, let us know, stay away, don't approach him. You guys know what we would do if that happened. Here in Texas.
Right.
But,
the first thing, Dr. Tieberman, the first thing you said to me, and you said it live on my show, you said, if he comes into my house, I have an AR-15 here and I'll blast him. So, I don't think it's any different. And again, I have my niece and her husband waiting to come on. So I want to bring them in now, Julia and Derek, because they live locally there. This is my goddaughter, and I was just over at her at her mom's house just last weekend and spending time with her and her newborn child. And her daughter is beautiful, and they're a young couple with a baby, a beautiful baby girl, and they got to be feeling uneasy, and I know that they are. So if you don't mind, I want to bring them in and introduce them to the audience. These are, local residents in this search area, and I want to hear their perspective. Julia and Derek, thanks for joining.
Hi, Uncle Ronnie.
Thanks, Ron. Hi, Ed.
Hey, guys.
So Derek, if you could, I mean, I know that Julia was telling me, and your mother-in-law, she was telling me, my sister, that you grew up in this search area where they got the perimeter set up and where the school is closed.
So yeah, where it's set up currently is where I went to high school. So I went to school at Owen J. Roberts, which got shut down, I believe today and tomorrow, because of the obviously imminent danger and the perimeter that they have set up. But Ridge Road, like my parents live off of Ridge Road. And I believe Ridge Road, which is 23 and Route 100, is one of the main intersections that they're roping off. So I've had quite a few friends reach out, sending me pictures of police and SWAT teams in their backyard, checking sheds, checking woods lines.
Yeah. This is a huge high school, Derek. It almost looks like a college campus. I'm on Google Earth right now. Owen J. Roberts High School. It looks like a big campus.
Yeah, I don't want to pinpoint my parents' house, but if you were to move the map a little bit to the right, I would find my parents.
Wow. Oh no, we don't want you to do that.
No,
I'm just trying to show the audience, basically, what we're looking at, what the terrain is looking like. And you guys have been in the studio watching just for a little bit here now. The helicopter shots that they're showing, that's an accurate depiction, obviously, of that terrain that they have to search for Danelo Cavalcante.
Yeah, so ironically, the areas where he originally was here, we live in West Grove now, but he was in and around Longwood Gardens. And Ron, as you said, it's probably about 10 to the edge of the border is about 10 minutes away from us. Mm-hmm. And once we found out he was in a car and they didn't really know where he was going, obviously it got kind of scary because we were like, all right, well, he can go anywhere he wants.
Yeah, and we actually had a babysitter come last weekend, actually a few days ago, and she knew the person whose van got stolen from the dairy farm. That's where she gets her milk from.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so it's all pretty closely connected here. Everybody we know has a personal story that's kind of connected to the case. But now it's in Derek's hometown, and his family is, very scared. There's been sirens going off every night. Right. So we're receiving messages from them and hoping everything's okay. But yeah, I mean, it's all close to home. My mom and I and my daughter were just at Longwood Gardens 3 weekends, a month ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And then, completely shut down all the schools.
So I wanted to ask you, Julia, I mean, the audience here, it's swelling to like 1,600 people watching from all over the world. How did it feel for you as a new mom, and Derek, you as, obviously as a dad too, how did you guys feel when this initially broke on the 31st of August and it was pretty much in your zone? It was, he's reachable to drive or come into your area. Like, what type of precautions were you guys taking? What was the vibe of the neighborhood? What were you talking about with your clientele at the gym, Derek? What was going on there?
I mean, again, it was hard because in the beginning everyone assumed he was on foot, and it was, while it was scary, I think there was this.
We thought it was going to be over.
We thought it was going to be over.
We thought like, oh, this is just some news story, and later today he's going to get caught, and it'll be, old news by next week. But it's just been escalating and escalating. And once we kind of found out Longwood Gardens was shut down, there was a van stolen, everything got kind of scary. So we've just been locking up the house. We've been home, thankfully. Our daughter got us sick. So we've been kind of home, just keeping all the doors locked for now.
Right.
But, even with our babysitter that came over, like everybody's been really nervous and really scared and just kind of not knowing what to expect, and just kind of on the news and on social media trying to keep up with the story.
Right. And Derek, let me ask you, the vibe from the locals there in that Pennsylvania region, people that are live streaming and are all over the place. There's people from different parts of the United States coming up just to do these live streams. But the local media, like Philly, Fox 29, they're not talking about this, but the YouTubers and the live streamers are talking to residents, and they're all like, "Hey, we're heavily armed. If this guy comes in here, we're going to light him up like a Christmas tree." Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's one of the fundamental differences. So the terrain is a little bit similar around Longwood Gardens than it is around my parents. The major difference is it's a little more rural by my parents. There's going to be more open fields, more tree lines, whereas it's a little bit more condensed over by Longwood, more houses and in a smaller space. But the big difference is as you work towards that part of Pennsylvania, like hunting and gun ownership is fairly normal over there. So I've seen a lot of the kids that I grew up with, going to high school that are more than happy to protect their families, make it be known that they're going to be sitting up and waiting with the lights on. So
I saw a Jeep, an open Jeep, Ed, you can appreciate this. And they had in the holders on both sides, AR-15s with the magazines, driving with the thing open. And this YouTuber was like panning over to him, and they were like, "Hey, what are you guys up to?" And it was like two guys in the front and two girls in the back, and the guy was just like, "We're looking to get our $20,000 reward. We're going to light this guy up." I had to laugh for a minute because I was just like, "Wow, they're not playing here." I wanted to go and Robert and Dr. Tieperman and Melanie, thank you for hanging out here with us. And again, this is my family. This is my goddaughter, Julia, her husband, Derek. You guys are like family to me. So guys, just in case you don't know, Derek and Julia, there was a prison break about a little bit over a year ago down in South Texas. And we met the Tiepermans. Melanie and her son were riding in the car, and she was like, "I think we got a prison break here, son. Take out your camera and start videoing it." He videoed it. It went viral. It was all over the internet. And
oh, wow.
We picked up the story and we had them on, and Ed called, what was it? Not the US Marshals, the Texas Ranger guys.
Texas Rangers, yeah.
And they sent them a star pin and a letter. And it was just, we hit it off real well. And we got the local perspective from them. And here we are calling them back. I want to go to this little piece on News Nation, if you guys don't mind. It is a local shop owner, and I wouldn't even doubt if Derek or Julia know this woman, but let's just take a listen to this. This aired earlier tonight.
Now considered armed and extremely dangerous. We know residents believed to be in the surrounding areas where he could be located, getting a call in the middle of the night by emergency notifications after police say this man, Danelo Cavalcante, who has changed his appearance, broke into the garage of a home and stole a rifle. So let's bring in one of those residents, Laura Fleming, owner of Laura's Refill Shop, which had to close because it is currently in the search zone. Laura, thank you for giving us so much of, some of your time here. First of all, what's the latest that you've been told by authorities?
So as of right now, the hunt's still continuing. The roads are still closed in front of my shop, anywhere from Route 100 and Route 23 down to Pewtown Road. That area there is just all blocked off.
All right, so we know that residents, including yourself, received those reverse 911 calls. We do have one of them. Let's listen.
The Pennsylvania State Police are still pursuing escaped convict Danelo Cavalcante in South Coventry Township. Cavalcante is armed with a weapon. Residents in the area are asked to continue to lock all external doors and windows, secure vehicles, and remain indoors.
All right. So Laura, when did the first one come in, and what went through your head? Because I imagine that had to be terrifying.
It was, yeah. It came in around 2 a.m. and I happened to still be awake and answered the phone and listened to it. And yes, I was completely freaked out by it. And then the second one came around 6:15, 6:30 this morning saying the same thing.
Okay. Now, is that the last one that you've received, 6 something this morning?
It is, yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
you mentioned that your shop right now is closed. It's right in the area. Talk about, where your shop is in relation to the search area for people, who aren't familiar with that area. And then tell us where your home is located, kind of in relation to the search area.
Right. My shop is located at the Shops at Pewtown, which is.
And I got to stop this on this armored vehicle. What's your take on that? What is that?
Looks like a Bearcat. Can you go back just a little bit?
Hold on, I'll go back. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, it looks like a Bearcat, or it could be an Oshkosh.
Yeah, and when I saw the
Yeah.
front of it, it looked like one of those, like an
It could be
armored.
one of the Army surplus
Yeah.
armored vehicles that we use.
Okay, Robert.
So I want to keep this map up because this has given us a little bit of a look, and I'm going to go to Derek and Julia to maybe give us a little bit of perspective on this. So this highlighted area, so they have the search area and then they have a sub-search area, but this looks like this is that East Lenape Township. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but the van was abandoned here, and then this is that 8 mile to the north and east and west, what they're describing, I guess, on the news.
Yeah, so I don't know. I know he drove to Phoenixville because, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that where his sister's house was?
Yes.
One thing that I'm confused with is how was he able to locate, like, he doesn't speak English, correct?
It says he speaks English and Portuguese, and then some Spanish as well.
Okay, I was just a little confused as to how he was able to navigate the van and know where he was going. Like, he's not, to my knowledge, he's not familiar with the area. So that was a little bit puzzling. But he dropped the van from what I remember, somewhere near Phoenixville. But the area that he's in now, around O&J, is probably a good 10 miles or so from that location.
Interesting. Ed, you had something to say?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the van had GPS in it.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, Jeanette Lawson, she's right on it right away. Boom, GPS. Perhaps. Maybe he did have a phone that we didn't know, unbeknownst to us. So, but I want to let the rest of this play out because there's just a little bit more information. And then I want to get some more perspective from Robert and from Dr. Tieperman and Melanie. Sorry, I keep calling you Robert. I want to be proper here. So, all right. So let's let the rest of this play.
But in relation to where I live, I'm about 5 miles north of my shop. So I'm kind of right in the epicenter of things.
You really are, Laura. So I know that authorities are asking for any security footage, whether it is business footage, homeowners footage that could be helpful. Do you think you may have any? Because again, your business is right in the heart of all of this.
It sure is. As far as coverage, I looked on my cameras and I unfortunately don't have anything.
All right. Did you sleep at all last night, Laura? Is that a crazy question?
I don't know why I let the rest of that play. Yeah. So listen, people in this neighborhood, people in the general vicinity, I'm sure there's a flurry of Ring video doorbells being installed and all types of temporary cameras, which is a smart thing to do. Dr. Tieperman and Melanie, did you guys have that set up? And if you didn't, were you guys rushing to do that? And then I'll go over to Derek and Julia on that one.
So at that time, we had cameras inside the house and a few outside the house. We never locked our doors, if you remember that. Yeah. And so we, on that second day of the search, they called me at the clinic and thought that he was possibly could have been in our house because they tracked him to we're on 15 acres and it's almost square acres. Our house is close to the middle of that. And so there's woods, thick woods behind us. And so they had thought that he had came in they tracked him, they said, to our fence line and then lost the track and never see he was in the house. So we saw, they didn't go through our cameras. They just said, can we search the house? And they came in and searched the house. All that. But within a day, I did put sensors around at the entrance of our gate to the house, and one in the back of the yard, and one and somewhere else to try to get 80% of our area with alarms inside, just in case that, he triggered it or something like that. And then being out in the country, once Melanie would go to bed and the kid and Braxton would be in bed, I would actually sit outside with my AR that has a night vision scope for about an hour and just scan those wood lines, just being proactive versus being a setting duck, if that makes sense. So it's just my mentality of being proactive. Melanie was mentioning something, just a second ago that she wanted to say.
Yeah, I just feel like, the first thing that Braxton and I did was make a game plan on if that guy was to make it to the house and break in, where would he hide? What code words would we use for him to come out? Things like that. Like, do not, if I could give any of the people in that area advice, it would be, do not let your guard down no matter what until 100% this guy is caught. Do not underestimate what he's capable of doing.
And make a plan. Make a plan with your kids and with your family, because they don't know where he's at right now. Yeah. He could show up in a neighborhood. He could show up at a house on 10, 15 acres. Everybody, just like a fire plan in a school, everybody needs to be making a plan. Mm-hmm. Try not to scare your kids, but just make a plan.
Because you don't want to think about what can.
That's advice I heard ever right here. I've never even heard law enforcement talk about making plans with your family. I heard them talk about lock your doors, lock your windows, lock your sheds, lock your car. Mm-hmm. But what you two just said, and Melanie, hold that thought because I want you to continue it. What you guys just said here was such good, valuable information for the folks in Pennsylvania. You got to have a plan because you never know when this is going to happen, God forbid. It's not going to be an invite. It's not going to be like, hey, come on in. He's just going to be in or either be on, on your property. So, Melanie, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I had to say that was great.
It's fine. I just, you think all day long that nothing's going to happen because, even though I came home and made that plan, I still, in the back of my mind, was thinking it's still the possibility of it really happening is slim to none. But, because really up to that point, I had never heard of much of this, prison breakouts and inmates running loose through neighborhoods and stuff. But the reality really did happen. I mean, that exact scenario happened down the street here. And that reality that hits you, that you made that plan of that possibility. But when that actual event happened and people lost their lives because of it, really, man, that impacts you really hard. You're like, the reality happened. It happened.
Yeah, 100%. Ed, did you have anything you want to add to it?
Well, I highly recommend getting the surveillance cameras. I have two sets, one by Flair and one by Arlo. I'm not a paid consultant for any of these things. I just believe in them and I have them. And the Arlo one is battery, it's battery powered, it's rechargeable, and I have a solar recharging kit to the cameras so that I don't have to go up on a ladder and pull the battery out and charge the battery and put them back in. And they go right to your wirelessly connect to your internet and to your phone with the app, and you can see what's going on in your house. And I use it all over the world. And I dial into my house and open up the cameras and make sure everything's okay inside and out.
Perfect. Derek, did you and Julia have a plan while this was all going down? Did you guys talk about it?
I mean, I will say this, as far as the cameras go, we've always had good security with the house. So there's sensors on all the windows. We have strong doors that we make sure get locked all of the time.
We have something similar, Ed, where it connects to our phone, and we have cameras inside and outside as well.
I mean, as far as a plan goes, the way that things are now with our schedules, like I'm home whenever Joy is home with the baby. So it would pretty much be you two run into the bedroom and I'm going to take care of this.
Awesome.
I mean, keep in mind when he was in our area, it was at that point, it was not known that he hadn't stolen a weapon yet. And not that he couldn't get one. But yeah, I mean, in my mind, I was like, all right, well, I will defend my home with everything I have. If he makes it out this far.
Perfect.
Yeah. You know, for those of you who have firearms, you know, a handgun or a shotgun or a rifle, long gun, you got to become proficient with it. You have to train. Okay. And I'm not talking about shooting at paper targets, because paper targets don't shoot back. Okay. Take a tactical course, tactical handgun, tactical shotgun, and then see how you operate in those environments when the stress is really there and it's a force on force type situation. Because, you know, this guy took 7 shots with a handgun, and I don't know what caliber or what gun it was used, but, you know, in the excitement and everything, you know, the training, the realistic training, you train as you're going to fight, right? That's the way we talk about it. You train as you're going to fight. And so the more realistic your training, the more better you're going to be prepared should an incident like that come up and you're required to defend yourself with a handgun. Now, that said, I would highly recommend a shotgun over a handgun for home defense. And that's just me, and you take it for what it's worth.
Thank you, Ed, for the safety advice. And listen, again, you got to train. You got to be proficient with your weapon. But again, like you said, there's different levels of where people will go with this. Most homeowners, they want to feel like Melanie and Dr. Tiedemann will tell you, at no time did they think that they were ever going to have or be faced with something like this. You know, you're inside your homes, the doors are locked. You don't expect someone to come in. But, and especially when you live in the country, these guys, you said you're on 54 acres. I mean, I saw the overshot, you know, from when the helicopters were hovering over your house and so forth during that time. And I know Julia and Derek, where they live, I mean, there's mushroom farmers, there's cattle, there's all kinds of, they're in the country, you know, and you don't expect this stuff to happen. But like you said, Ed, you got to always be ready. And Derek, I love what Derek said. Someone comes into my house, I'm ready. And plus he's big. I wouldn't him. Big
Yeah, you know, for those in the chat asking if a shotgun fits in a pocketbook or a purse, I'm talking about home defense. Okay. I'm not talking concealed carry out in the street. Okay.
You know, I just got one more piece to play because it shows a map again. And Derek, if you could just take a peek at this and let me know if it's accurate. So this is again a smaller shot of the map that CBS Philadelphia was showing today. But then again, you know, this is a fluid thing. He's moving. We don't even know where he is right now. We hope that they have him contained. Let's take a listen to this.
Conte in this perimeter in East Nantmeal Township between Route 23 to the north, Route 100 to the east, Country Park Road and Iron Bridge Road to the west, and Nantmeal and Fairview Roads to the south. Now, during this morning's briefing from State Police, we learned that Cavalcante ditched his green sweatshirt, a white T-shirt, and his prison shoes. He stole a pair of work boots from a home. He then noticed an open garage where he spotted a rifle. The homeowner was in the garage at the time.
The homeowner drew a pistol and fired at Cavalcante as he fled with the rifle. He's desperate enough to use that weapon.
The rifle has a scope as well as a flashlight. We've learned that 500 members of law enforcement are currently searching for Cavalcante. Now, authorities are reminding residents to lock their cars, keep the garage and sheds closed, and not to leave anything out.
This afternoon, we have also heard from the man whose work boots disappeared last night as well, and police believe Cavalcante does have them. CBS News Philadelphia's Dan Snyder is live in East Nantmeal Township. Dan, take us through this man's story and how he found out that his boots were even gone in the first place.
Yeah, well, Jim Barnes and his wife, they knew Cavalcante was around their area, and he says they've been very vigilant, locking their doors, locking their cars as this search goes on. But nothing really could have prepared them for what happened last night when their home actually became part of this investigation.
We had a very interesting night. It was very sleepless.
It started as a pretty typical Monday for Jim Varnes and his wife on Fairview Road. Jim's wife went out for groceries, then they sat down to relax.
We got our groceries in, and then we locked everything up. And we're just sitting here watching MASH TV.
They knew escaped Chester County inmate Danelo Cavalcante was around their area, but the Varnes never thought they'd be dragged into the case. Then they saw the police lights outside.
Maybe 5-10 minutes later, they were all here. And we're like, what the heck's going on?
Varnes says police told him a passerby saw a man crouching in the field across from their home and called 911. Then his wife made the discovery. Jim's grass-cutting boots were missing from the back porch.
They would be right down there where that chair was, right there.
Police now believe Cavalcante stole the boots from the Varnes home Monday night, no more than 20 feet from where Jim and his wife were watching TV. Varnes says investigators also found what's believed to be Cavalcante's shoes on their property. Since then, Varnes says they've been mostly confined to their home, outside a walk to check in on his in-laws down the street, with a heavy police presence all around.
We got a beautiful view here. It's very, very, very nice. You know, so he's sitting there.
Varnes says it's scary to know a convicted killer armed with a rifle could be around their home, but he believes police are doing their best to bring him in. He just hopes that happens soon.
We're just trying to live our lives normal, get back to normal in this quiet community that we live in.
So there
you have it.
Yeah, they are warning anyone.
You know, I just say to myself, it just sounds so familiar. And Dr. Tieberman and Melanie, I just can't get it out of my head when I hear these reports and I hear people having interactions with Danelo Cavalcante. And this is a guy just like Gonzalo Lopez that has no regard for human life. He was ready to kill 2 corrections officers. He took shots at them. He fought with them to get their guns. He remember the one corrections officer said he fought for his life to not get that sidearm. And then the guy in the back supposedly took shots at him. I know that that's all controversial because you guys were there. You didn't hear any shots, but we won't get into that. But the bottom line is this is a brutal murderer who's running around and could be, if he gets a car, very mobile and move around and move to the next neighborhood. That's what's scary about it, you know. And I know my little Julia is worried about that but she does have Batman next to her. So
yeah. It's a way to live in that fight or flight mode. I feel very bad for you guys having to live like that. I know what that's like. I just hope that they catch him soon and he doesn't harm anybody.
Yeah, on our Facebook message board for our town and our area, everybody's just been posting and nobody has any footage. Obviously, it's just been reposting of the same images that have been shown on the show so far. And then there's some people are trying to be uplifting. People want to get care packages together for the workers at Longwood Gardens and all the businesses that have had to shut down for the time being. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just a lot of questions and not knowing what's happening next. And we're really trying to stay as connected as we can to Derek's family, who's in the immediate area right now. They haven't slept in over 2 nights now. There's still sirens going on. So it's pretty scary.
That's exactly what we did in our area. We had I think it's about an 8, maybe 10 mile circular radius where they thought he was. And on the second day, I started a group Facebook page, a private one, where we started inviting people we knew in the neighborhood and told them to invite. And within 3 days, we had 100 people in this group, and we were messaging. We saw this, they were over here searching, because they weren't giving us any information where they were at or what they thought was going on.
Sometimes the guards, when we would pass them, you know how they have the road shut down and they have armed guards, you know, there. When we would pass them to come to the house, we would ask, okay, what's developing, what information, because they weren't giving us much through the public anyway. But you know, so any of us that got any information from the police that were on site working that investigation, if anything they would give us, we were sharing that with our community and the people that live in the area. And it really kind of brought us all together. We all kind of worked together. It was really kind of neat to see everyone come together to help each other and help defend one another.
Because we weren't getting no information from, it was like a secret for us. It was a secret. And I don't know if they're doing good with you guys, but we wouldn't know if they're north 8 miles. And what would happen with us is in this big search perimeter, kind of like the map that Ed showed, one day they'd be way up in the north side of that searching, and there would be hardly no one down in our area. And then the next day we'd get up to work to leave, and they'd all be back down in our area. So we were lost and scared, not knowing and confused. What's going on? Where are they at? And we would get no information of, okay, today we're searching this area because of this reason. So it's good to relay and help each other out. Facebook with what's happening.
Facebook has a really good reach when it comes to community, and it has its good points and its bad points. As we know, there's all kinds of trolls and all kinds of crazy people on the internet. But the bottom line is it does good for the most part. You have these communications where community members can talk to each other. And that brings me to my next point. I want to say thank you to some of the folks who became members here. Deborah Keeler, thank you for being a member for 6 months. Judy, thank you for sending in the super chat. She says, detectives,
I'm sorry.
How do these officers combat the fatigue and anxiety of the manhunt? And I can take that because the Lieutenant Colonel Blevin, in his press conference today, Judy, said that they're switching out the personnel on a regular basis. So they're doing a 10 or a 12-hour shift or whatever the shift is, and then they're putting in fresh manpower in the morning. So it's a way to cycle through, and they have these different tours of duty. So if you have 500 men out there and women, you're going to have 500 to back them up. So this operation could be as large as 1,000 plus personnel, because you got to cycle them through, if you guys follow what I'm saying. Schmitty also is sending a $5 super chat, and she says, can you please explain how making the search area so large helps? I'm not criticizing. It's not my place. I just really want to know. So fascinating. Ed, you want to take that?
Well, the information that they have, the sightings, the fact of the latest movements and the patterns, they're determining the size and scope of this search area and containment area, using their best guess as to what's going to happen here. And let me just back up a little bit. The guy's got a history, okay? And the prison should have known it. Law enforcement should know it now too. He busted out of Brazil.
Jungle.
Okay? Yeah, through the jungle. He busted out through the jungle, made his way to Puerto Rico, and then got from Puerto Rico to the United States. Okay, so he's got a history. They should have a lot of intel on him and what his capabilities are. What he is. He a hunter? Is he a woodsman? Is he a sports enthusiast? What his background is. He paramilitary? Is he military? What his training and experience is. They should have all this already on him, and they should be using this to help make these decisions as to what they think his movements are going to be.
100%, Ed. I couldn't agree with you more. I want to just continue. There's only a couple more. Robbie from Australia sends in a super chat, and he says, great people on here. Thank you, Robbie. And if you don't mind, put a couple of shrimp on the Barbie. I think they call them prawns over there, though, right? Ed, why are you shaking your head, Ed?
When I go to Australia next year, I know I'm going to bump into a few of our people, and they're going to tell me, would you smack that guy in the head?
Easy. It doesn't have to turn to violence.
Robbie, you obviously don't know Australians.
Thank you for the support, Robbie. Nicole, thank you for becoming a member. And I just want to say thank you to the moderators who keep it classy and keep everybody, on point. And I thank you guys. But if you have any questions, put hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon, hashtag Batman, hashtag Robert and Melanie. And we want to highlight some of your comments because we're going to get ready to wrap it up. I know that Julia is monitoring the baby monitor for the beautiful queen that's sleeping so peacefully right now. Little Ellie, she's a bundle of joy, boy.
Yeah.
Phoenix Rising, she's got something for you, Ed.
Yeah, she's not she's not gun friendly in terms of she's afraid to have a gun in case of being overpowered by an intruder. So she's asking for a friend. What about a water pistol filled with ammonia? No, I wouldn't recommend that. You know, you can get yourself a stun gun. You can get yourself a taser. You can get yourself a mace or pepper spray, or you can get yourself a good, well-trained dog.
That's an even better idea. Let's see.
I will say that after all of this and through the past year, that I've definitely thought about getting some self-defense classes myself in case, you know, he were to have broke in and I couldn't have gotten to the gun fast enough. You know, all of these thoughts start running through your head after you've been through a scenario like that. And I have definitely talked about trying to find some place to go and get some self-defense classes just to.
And that's another thing too. If you're going to carry a handgun, if you're going to carry a firearm, then you need to get training in how to retain your firearm.
Retention, yeah.
Okay, firearm retention. That's right. And believe it or not, you know, everybody associates this with John Wick, but there is training called Gun Fu. Okay, it's out there. Many people are advertising it now. Many martial artists are advertising this now, but most of it is dealing with gun retention, not the stuff that John Wick does on.
Yeah. It's important. It's important because if you're going to have a firearm, a deadly weapon, you don't want the perpetrator to be able to have a chance to get it away from you real quick. So if you're carrying something that can, cause deadly physical force, you need to be able to retain it, and that's a very important thing. Thank you, Ed, for bringing that up. Julia, I want to show full screen what your mother just sent me. Hold on.
Yeah, I have my phone on Do Not Disturb, but I know that my family text is probably blowing up. Hi, Mom. Love you.
What about Dad?
Where's the soup?
Hi, Dad.
So Dave is
hi, Emmy, too.
Yes, and Emmy.
What I would Ed, the lady asked she's against guns and everything. And one thing I want to reiterate very strong from what we went through is one thing. If she has nothing and is an anti-gun person, and they're all over America, and they're in a situation right now where they are in Philadelphia, and they have nothing at all in their house, I'd say maybe keep a large steak knife by their house or something, because they need to understand these guys, if they come into your house, they're not going to wrestle you. They're not going to fight with their hands with you. And I don't want to scare anyone, but this is the reality. They are going to kill to get what they want to get out of there. And that's what happened with the Collins family. Them poor kids got in there. They didn't know how to fight or anything. They wrestled with him with their hands, not knowing he's trying to kill them while they're just wrestling and trying to subdue him. Yeah. So these people that are anti-gun, which it's okay, they need something and need to understand they need to be prepared to kill or be killed.
It's an unfortunate reality.
It's so mean and it's chilling. I don't know if it's mean, but it's kind of chilling. But that's how these guys are.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but true. I want to switch gears a little bit here because here's one of our good friends, Patreon supporter, channel member. Katina says, #Ed, #Ron. The Border Patrol and the personnel are overwhelmed by the numbers of crossing illegals into the United States. Absolutely. Could this be a reason how criminals get into our country? I say
absolutely.
Yes.
Did you see the hearing they had today in the World Trade Center Museum on the border crossing and terrorism, and how many terrorists on the terrorist watch list were caught by CBP at our border trying to cross into the United States?
It's alarming.
It's approaching 200.
It's for another show. It's alarming. Our good friend Fox 29 Chris O'Connell is live on Facebook and YouTube. I just want to take a peek and see what he's doing real quick. So this looks like an intersection. Ridge Road. Derek, does this look familiar? Ridge Road? I don't know.
Yes.
Familiar with this area.
Police are investigating a possible sighting at 1154 Prizer.
So it's like they're talking.
1154 Prizer. Active track, put units in the area for possible sighting. 1164 Prizer.
A possible
Quarters
sighting.
Fairview and Pocopson.
All right, you heard it there live, guys. We just had a reported sighting.
You sent me a message yesterday about the mobile live scan. I have it with me.
We just knocked out in the
Roger, 411 again.
which is right in the middle, isn't it? It's right in the middle. I'm going to have you guys, let's play back that scanner, guys. We're going to play back that scanner. 1100 block of Prizer, 1100 block of Prizer, that is right in the middle of the search zone. A radio dispatch that came in at 8:02. At 8:02, just a minute ago, here it is.
All right, so this is a little
Command
late.
post units along the perimeter, especially Fairview and Pottstown. State police are investigating a possible sighting at 1164 Prizer. Just use caution. Canines in the area. Not an active track, but units in the area for possible sighting. 1164 Prizer.
All right, so he goes there.
Co-worker Danelo Cavalcante, Chris O'Connell coming to you from the passenger seat of our mobile unit. Aaron Sachs, photojournalist, driving and getting the video we need. We've been coming to you live streaming all night throughout the first 13 days of this search. If you give me a second, I need to scanner traffic that we've been monitoring in the background. You may be hearing police helicopters.
Looks like there's a horse right here. All right. So Derek, are you laughing because you know exactly where this is? Obviously.
Yeah, and just because I mean that's the area. You're going to have a lot of horse farms. Like I said, it's going to have a lot of woods lines and then wide open fields where there's going to be either corn or animals.
There you go.
So while he's got places to hide and it is pretty vast, it's there is a lot of open space, so the visibility is going to be really good.
Yeah, it would be great if he ran by that horse and he just back kicked him and dropped them to the ground. I'm reaching now, Ed, but
I know.
Trying to have a little fun here, for crying out loud.
Around the corner, get a little bit more bandwidth.
I'm going to go straight to the live feed. Let's listen to what he's saying now. This is just live. This is now
Anyway,
live.
should we say that?
I feel like I'm on live patrol right now. So this is Fox 29, Chris O'Connell doing his thing.
Police are asking people to stay inside, to shelter in place. We've listened to the reverse 911. I had that on a little while ago, the reverse 911 call they're sending everyone. It's always chilling to me. It's always just a little nerve-wracking when you hear that official voice telling you you need to do something. Much like the emergency broadcast system that used to scare the heck out of me as a kid.
That's a really narrow road and no lights, as I'm seeing. This is just typical, right, Derek, for this area? No lights?
No. So that's the one thing is at night, he's going to be, that's going to be his biggest capacity for being mobile.
This is what he's been doing. He's been traveling, been moving in the middle of the night. So it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time. You would assume he's going to try to get another car. I doubt he wants to stay within this zone any longer.
Yeah.
Papa Smurf writes, wait until he crosses a bear.
What's
Good
the
point.
chances of that, Derek? Are there a lot of black bear and indigenous wildlife there?
There's not. I mean, if you go a little bit more north, you start running into that stuff closer to the Poconos, but up that way, yeah, not too much. I mean, you might see some foxes and that sort of thing, but
Hold on. I got a message from a friend.
Oh, hell no.
Or some black bear or some kind of rabid animal to take this guy out.
Honestly, his biggest threat in this area, aside from law enforcement, is the gun owning citizens. Like
Right.
it's if he goes into the wrong house,
right,
he's not going to have a fun night.
Well, so far he hasn't. Well, he did once, and the guy missed him with 7 shots. Jeff Litweiler is a good friend from Wyoming, and he says, what about the snakes?
There are definitely snakes.
Okay, that's good.
There's copperhead. There's rattlers. There's
You
two
looked
different.
up, Ed. There's rattlers?
Well, no, I have family in Pennsylvania, and up around the Narrowsburg, New York area by the Delaware River on that side over there, Hawley, Pennsylvania, in there around, and there's all kinds of snakes there, and we've seen all kinds. We've seen bear too. In fact, just the other day, I looked at a 53-acre plot of land with a house on it in Neversink, New York. I love that. Neversink, New York. It's about an hour away from Narrowsburg, New York, and there is bear, deer, coyote, bobcat, all roaming on this land.
But again, we have to remember he survived the jungle in Brazil. So
that's right. You got snakes and all kinds of big anacondas down there and so forth.
According to Derek, this is the best chance that we have to get him. There you go.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, why is it this hard for the dogs to be able to detect him?
That's a great question.
Once they get him fixed at a location, they got his clothes, right? They give the scent to the dog, and then see if the dog can pick up the scent from the last place he was spotted. So if this turns out to be a legit spotting, you get those dogs, get the scent from his clothing, and see if the dogs can pick up his scent and get on him.
In our area, the general consensus when he was closer towards Longwood was that the reason they didn't want to release the dogs and just have them on guide was because they didn't want him to feel the pressure and try to go into someone's home and run into a hostage situation. That may or may not be true, but that was the word going around.
Yeah, but where he was originally spotted, the residential area was spread out, right? As opposed to where it is now, the residential areas are closer together now, right? The houses are closer.
No, it's the opposite. Where it was originally was closer together, and where he is now is much more rural.
Okay, so that makes sense then what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense. So now they can release the dogs. There would be no reason to be consider that, especially if you have reverse 911 and you're telling people, hey, we got a spotting in this area. We're going to be doing the searches. We're going to release the dogs. Stay in the house. Protect yourself at all times.
Hey, Melanie and Robert, did you guys get? I'm having a senior moment. Did you guys say that they did the reverse 911 with you guys, or they didn't do that in Leon County?
No, did not do it. They sent out a few messages at the beginning, but they quit doing that. Even it was almost like it's almost like once they started giving out those reward offers of 20,000 and stuff like that. We saw people driving down our road, like they talked about the people in the Jeep and stuff. Right. And it was almost like once they saw him or knew they had seen him break in that one cabin, that they didn't want anybody going in and after him. So they kind of shut things down. And if you remember also, that crazy guy that was speaking for TDC, he even quit. Yeah. I'm not going to speak no more. This is it, So they even shut that down. So we weren't hearing nothing the last week.
No, nothing.
Unbelievable. It looks like he's mobile here now. I just want to see. He's at the East Nanamiel Township building. So I get. Oh, he's probably going for the 10 o'clock news shot. But yeah, Ed, a lot of people are asking. So I'm thinking maybe we can grab our canine expert, the guy Smith that we had on with us from Oklahoma. I might ask him to just give him a call tomorrow and just ask him, hey, why don't they just send a whole pack of dogs out after this guy? If they got him in a contained area, there's a last known sighting. Why not just sick the dogs on him? I know that it's probably just not that easy to do it. They have to have a scent. They have to, I think the handlers don't want to completely lose sight of them. So if they go running in.
Yeah, they don't normally just cut them loose off the leash like that unless, they're on them. So, yeah, you got to be careful, too, with these dogs, too. There's been a lot of lawsuits involving law enforcement and the dogs. So, you got to stay with the dog. You just can't, cut it loose and then try to run after it.
Okay, Paul Clank says he sends $2 to say this. He goes, okay, I'm going to say it. Daniela Danelo Cavalcante is a real jerk. Well, all right. I hope you feel better.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and dude, they had, if you remember, they had dogs out searching for our guy over here.
Mhm. Yeah.
Every day, morning and night for.
They had
2
horses, all of them. Yeah.
dogs, and I have a patient that's a dog handler that was out there every night. And I don't know if I've talked about this yet, but the dog handlers were getting really frustrated because they'd send the dogs in where the whole line of people had already walked through. And so there was so much confusion of the dogs picking up scents, losing scents. And it was just such a mass confusion that the dog handlers were just getting wore down from the frustration of non-communication of where they're at and
who was searching where. The dog should lead the search and the humans follow the dogs, and not the other way around. The human shouldn't be in front with the dog behind. So yeah, I could see that. Definitely could see that.
So I want to, I know Julia and Derek, they probably have to go because, this is it's a work night and so forth. I don't want to hold them up. They've been on here for almost an hour. I appreciate the local perspective from my family. So it's always great when we can incorporate my goddaughter and her husband, and they're there. They live in that general zone, and they were a part of it. And you know what? It, God forbid, could circle back straight into their community. This guy's, it seems like he's not going in circles, but he's not really going far. Where we would think, like you looked at Casey White and Vicky White when they broke out of jail, they went from Alabama all the way up into Indiana. So they drove a long ways. This guy is staying in this local area, and there was arguments and people on the internet saying, he's got family ties. He worked in some of these areas, so he knew. He reached out to some former workers. Then they didn't bite, but they didn't call the police right away. And his sister, we could talk about this, Ed, later on. The sister is now in the process of being deported. But why weren't they looking to deport her before all this bullshit happened? Like all of a sudden now they're going to take her and boot her because she failed to cooperate and was helping maybe in the process here. I say they should have thrown her out before that, but that's just me being mean. Derek and Julia, thank you for hanging out. Robert and Melanie, can you hang a little longer or do you got to go?
Yeah, okay. Do you need to check food? Good.
She's got to go. All right. Thank you so much, Derek and Julia. You guys got any, Derek, you got any final words for the audience or anybody that, might be watching that's local in the area?
Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe, lock your doors, and be ready to protect your family.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank
Love you, Uncle Ronnie.
I love you.
Be careful. Be careful.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Good night. There they go. Derek Batman and Julia Batman out the door.
That's I love his name, but as a kid he had to been getting a lot of jokes about it, right? But at least now he can walk around and say, I'm Batman.
He's 6'7". I wouldn't joke with him. He would put his foot so far up your ass you wouldn't even know it hit you. That guy, when you see him in person, you're like this. Like, how you doing, buddy?
Say
about Batman.
I'm Batman.
Oh, wait, let's just hear what he has to say.
Give you up-to-date, minute-by-minute breaking news as it happens, as we see it happen, as you get it, as we get it from our sources, you will get it. As you are hearing police respond, you will hear it. So we have that kind of technology and we have that kind of purpose to bring you the news as it happens. So we're going to try to do that. I'm punching up several different cameras in our area, on our truck. We are right now on the western border of the search for Danelo Cavalcante. Inside that search zone is a very lots of teams covering what we understand is a 10 to 12 square mile area in the South Coventry, East Nantmeal Township area. The main search tonight started with around 7 o'clock when they had a shift change with all of the state patrol and troopers are getting relieved.
He's reading a text message. I know it, or an email.
And then we saw left from here down at Ludwig's Corner Fire Station, a contingent of about 50 state, federal, and local law enforcement, some in tactical gear with their night vision goggles and long guns, go out into a heavily armored vehicle, teams of them in the back. And they headed out for the woods. I spoke with several of them who were starting their mission. They came up from Virginia. They were federal law enforcement. They were here for a number of days. They were dispatched for.
Quantico, maybe?
And tonight's mission was the night mission.
This is live. Something that you guys didn't get, Doc, is this live coverage like this. You were getting the press conferences, but you didn't have news crews. This guy has been following since the beginning, every night, going out,
Can I have the location
listening
again?
to the police radio and going from location to location.
That's pretty handy.
Do not need to ping them.
I mean, look, this live stream starts off, it's light out. I'm going back to the beginning of it.
Sitting across from a blocked off area. There's some apartments back there. But one thing that struck me is we keep talking about state, federal, and local authorities coming to the scene. I saw this. We're quite a ways away from Bensalem, Pennsylvania. That is Bensalem, right? Yeah, it's a Bensalem police car. So they're coming from all over to help. And tonight is going to be another different kind of effort, different kind of search. They have locked down this perimeter. I'm going to go to my map here and kind of talk you through the perimeter for folks who live in this area. By if you are watching this feed as we are, you're looking at the
just driving through the country.
Thing that we're not. So thanks for looking out in their backyard. Those folks are being told to shelter in place. Let me punch you out here. That's our one camera. You see, in case we're snowing, we could see our here. There's our other camera, and there's our front-facing camera. We are coming up to one of the.
Look like Texas a little bit, right?
Got this call, and I'll have you listen to it here in a second. As night falls on Chester County, Pennsylvania. This is horse country, as if you haven't noticed by now. A lot of beautiful horse stables.
See, it's nice over here.
You were saying before, a lot of these
lots of places to hide.
Farmhouses.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a lot of smaller outhouses, smaller like garages, and lots and lots of places to hide.
Oh, somebody just said that.
And I told you earlier, we are expecting, if the forecast still holds up, a really right now, $5,000 reward for the capture of Cavalcante. We really appreciate it. All the viewers watching on Facebook, also on YouTube. If you guys have any questions, I can hit me up on YouTube. After a 13-day manhunt.
I'm going to link this into the description
And
because if you guys
that
aren't
search
following
is now
this guy, just
frequency.
definitely go and
If
follow
you-
him because he is awesome. Let's wrap it up. I could see Ed's getting a little antsy. This is day 12 and 13 coverage. Because of the 22-year mark of September 11th yesterday, Ed and I stayed off the air with the story. There was story to talk about, but we felt that it was necessary for us to just give you our perspective as we responded to the World Trade Center attack on our country 22 years ago. We did that live stream, and then we were silent for the rest of the evening. But I just want to say thank you to the replay viewers, the folks who left super chats, the new subscribers, the new people who are communicating and engaging with us. You guys are what makes this a great place. And Dr. Tieperman and I know I see Melanie had to step out. I want to thank you for taking out an hour of your valuable time to come and hang out with us.
We enjoy it. We enjoy you, and anything we can do to be part of helping out. We're part of your family now, so
yes.
Oh,
absolutely. Yes. And now you met some of my family, and Ed's at his secondary location at his New Jersey home on the water. He's got his parents there with him. So I met his parents on in the studio a couple of times before this. So it's like all in the family here. Hey, do you have any last words, Doc, for the people in Pennsylvania, in this Westchester region and in that area, Longwood Gardens, outside Phoenixville, and in all of these search areas? Any type of advice coming from somebody who has been through this in a similar fashion?
Yeah, I think like Melanie had mentioned earlier, do not let your guard down. You never, and it sounds to me like, well, they just may have spotted him, but we had that happen with us too. Every day he's been spotted here, spotted there. You cannot at all leave your guard down. If you leave in the morning or you leave out in the evening, have your gun ready, open the door slowly, look to the right, look to the left. I mean, just like you're hunting this person down if you have to leave. But he could be 20 miles, 25 miles in another direction already. So I would say at this point, even if you're within 60 miles of where they're searching right now, I would probably be on a defensive guard with them unknowing where he's at. Just don't let your guard down no matter what. Don't think, oh, he's not around here, because we thought that, and he was just 4 miles down the road still. So
yeah, that's some great advice right there. Always be ready. And you know, if you're in that zone, you got to be on very high alert. You're in that search zone, but outside of it, like you said, 50, 60 miles, you know, it's crazy to think of it, but I even thought to myself, you know, this guy could come to New York City. If he ever got here into the Manhattan or into one of the boroughs, he would just blend right in. Yeah. Ed, think about that, right?
Oh yeah, and you know, he had to get fraudulent documents to get into the States, right? He had to get some form of ID, so he's going to need that again if he's looking to get out of the country.
Right.
You know, we got to round up the usual suspects, as they say in the.
Yeah. Well, we're going to follow this closely. I'm going to monitor it. If you guys don't mind, you could be the eyes and ears for Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. If anything breaks overnight, or if you hear of anything that's substantial, not some alleged sighting, but if anything substantial happens, send it over on to DutyRon.com. Send me a message on all things social. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. No, we're not swinging from poles. We're doing uploads of true crime episodes on TikTok. Ed, I know that you get a kick out of that. But follow us on social. Send us anything or everything that you think is relevant to this case. We'll be following it closely. On behalf of Ed Wallace and Crime Time with DutyRon, I want to just say everyone stay safe out there, and God bless these men and women in law enforcement that are out there putting their lives on the line all day and all night looking for Danelo Cavalcante. Stay safe. And Ed, I know you got something to say.
Well, it's a prime example of what I say all the time, right? Stay prepared, stay safe, stay prepared, watch your six, right? And if you can't do that, leave the gun, take the cannolis.
There you go. That looks yummy. Dr. Tieperman, thank you for joining, and we'll see you soon. Stand by for a message from Oscar, Popeye, and Kara. That's our security team. Good night from New York, Texas, and Jersey. Good night, guys.